बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभा गोपी जन वल्लभा जय कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी जय कुंज बिहारी जय कुंज बिहारी ठीक है
I'm not in charge here. It's just about 11, yeah. Two mics in the crowd. For the crowd. Yeah. Hey, G. Yeah, right? Yeah, always.
That's perfect.
So, do we want to have one mic that we just passed around to you guys? Right. Perfect. And then we need like probably two mics in the crowd. Two, yeah. Just for when we do Q&A in the crowd for the end.
Starts because I start walking. Would you prefer not?
I don't care.
It's kind of interesting.
Wonderful.
I always have this because I'm walking
It's
here.
perfect. It's cool with the AC. If we get hot, we'll let you know, but we don't have any like super hot lights on us. I think we'll be okay. Thank you. I'm perfect. Everybody good? Temperature? The crowd? The clock is stopped.
I just, I love that little
Do you want to? We're going to have a thing. Can you just lead everybody in maybe 3 ohms together by that time? Testing. Okay. Good evening or good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our first plenary session. Just to start, we would like to just center for a moment and just take a breath. And remember where we are, there on the banks of Mother Ganga, right there. Let's just do 3 beautiful, perfect ohms. Take a deep breath together. Close your eyes. Inhale it deeply. Beautiful. Another deep breath in.
Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here with all of you here on the banks of Ma Ganga at the International Yoga Festival. It's incredible that we can all come together here and share so much wisdom, so much love for yoga. And we have some incredible people on the panel. Today, our panel is about embodied action from mat to mission, living karma as sacred life. So we'll be having a wonderful discussion and conversation about a variety of things in putting yoga into action, okay? So I think we'll start off with, well, since he's right to the left of me, we'll start with Tommy G, and then we'll welcome in everybody else. So for our first question today, let me see, where is it? It's such an honor to be next to you, Tommy G, up here. Kundalini Yoga practices kriyas, which come from the root word kri, which means to do or to act. How do you define kri or kriyas for yourself as a Kundalini teacher? But more importantly, how do you define kri as someone living in the world, like beyond the yoga mat?
Thank you. I'll use that. Good morning, everybody. Pujya Sadhvi Ji, thank you so much for having all of us here. Pujya Swami Ji, thank you so much. So grateful that we're all gathered here today. And what a beautiful opportunity to discuss perhaps the most important aspect of yoga is how we take our yoga off the mat. So Kriya. I'm seeing Kriya as a train that's leaving a station. It's an action that we take that puts a train into action. We speak about yoga in action, and this is yoga in action. We do something that moves the train forward. And on the path of yoga, that train, if we're in Kriya, evolutionary action, that train never stops. It's a yoga in action. It's different from the yoga of action, karma yoga. But Kriya is being in that process of the unfoldment of yoga from moment to moment. To take that concept off of the mat is an extension of our connection to our heartfelt desire to engage in the world in a meaningful way, which I believe every human being actually shares. At the root of our desire, our heartfelt desire, is to do something that's meaningful and purposeful. And I believe that each of us has a meaning and a purpose, and the most blessed among us are the ones who get to live the meaning and the purpose out. Service, seva, being in the mindset of service, it's a state of being. You could say Kriya is a state of being. And in the state of being of service, we don't look at our watch and say, I think today I'll be of service. Here I am on this panel. I think I'll be of service today from 11 o'clock to 12 o'clock. And then my service will be complete and I can go back to being just me in the world. I think more it's an attitude. As Anandji has said so many times, to serve the need of the moment is that broader perspective on service. that we are in a state of being where we're flowing with the need of the moment. Whatever shows up, we're in that attitude, I will serve. Personally, if you know my mission in the world, I work with people who are coming from addiction, the experience of addiction in one form or another. And for us, the idea of Kriya being in an evolutionary process, it's not a theory. We actually have to live it. And we find that as we remain stuck, if we ever get into a stagnant place, addiction can take a foothold in us once again. And if you expand your idea of addiction to attachment to a way of thinking, attachment to beliefs and behaviors that no longer serve you, to me, that's as much addiction as the person who goes out and harms themselves through the use of a substance. Because once we put the substance down, guess what comes up to meet us? Our attachments. And we see them that much more clearly. So for me, Kriya in the world is, first it starts in my own center. I have to root myself in yoga and then go out into the world as a centered person in the state of yoga. And then I can begin to serve the need of the moment, which for me specifically has to do with people who are stuck in addiction. The last thing I wanted to say on this is that I used to worry that I couldn't be Mother Teresa. I used to worry that I couldn't serve in the way that I would see someone in my home meeting, my home 12-step meeting was serving. I couldn't serve like that person. I couldn't be that person. I can't be Swamiji. I can't be Sadhviji. But I was given the gift of understanding that if I do my yoga practice and I come home to my heart center each day, that it would be revealed to me how I can actually serve in the world in a way that's appropriate for me. And that would become my dharma. And I believe that everybody here, especially here at International Yoga Festival, has the same opportunity to discover that deeper, most beautiful truth about how we each can serve ourselves, our families, our communities, and the world. Thank you, and Satnam.
Thank you, Tommy Ji. Satnam. So, Sadhvi Ji and Swamiji have created this amazing opportunity for us all to be here together. And so, Mataji, the last time I was in India, I was at Neem Karoli Baba's ashram in Kenchidam, and I received a teaching of be love, right? And then you came to Los Angeles a few months ago on Martin Luther King Day, and you spoke about love in action, and it reminded me of being love. That love is a verb, and that embodying it in our actions and practices is essential. Can you please speak with us about some ways that people can practice yogically and experience love in action?
First of all, just to again welcome everyone. And just again express how beautiful it is to be together. These morning plenary sessions are a time for us to really dive into other aspects of yoga in our life. So, very beautiful to be together in this first one, and we do hope that everyone will come for all of them and really allow yourself to gain from the different aspects of wisdom and experience that all of our amazing presenters from around the world have. Okay, love in action. So, first of all, Tommy mentioned karma yoga. And I want to just take a second because I realize that for so many of you, some of these terms may be things you've heard, but not actually part of your experience in life or in study. The word karma literally means action. Most of us in the West think that it means the results of action. Oh, you've got some bad karma, that's why this has happened. Or, oh, karma just means action. Think of it as planting a seed. The fruit of that action is that which we receive from it. It's sweet, it's bitter, it's enjoyable, it's not enjoyable. That's just the law of nature. According to our Vedic, Sanatan Dharma, Hindu, yogic philosophies and background, there's no sense of God sitting somewhere punishing you or rewarding you. We do actions, we plant seeds, and those seeds grow and they bear fruit. And if you plant an apple seed, you're going to get an apple tree. And you're going to find yourself full of apples. So when in the Bhagavad Gita, Bhagwan Krishna speaks about three main pathways to yoga, to that ultimate union with the divine, to awakening, to moksha, liberation, freedom. Again, we don't believe in salvation. We don't think anybody needs to be saved. We need to be free. Free from illusion, free from ignorance, free from false identification, free to know and live as the very truth of who we are. So in the Bhagavad Gita, we're given three main ways in. Ways into the divine, which, by the way, all end up in exactly the same place. We're here on the sacred banks of Ganga. There's innumerable ways in. Can walk down our marble steps, hold on to a chain, have a beautiful dip in Ganga. Walk upriver, go up to Ramjula, there's a sandy beach. Can walk in off the sandy beach. Go up a little farther to Lakshmanjula, people jump in off rocks. However you get in, doesn't matter. What matters is we get in. And so we're given three main ways in. Karma yoga, the yoga of action, meaning every minute, every moment, everything we do is seen as our yoga. There is a way of living that is anchored and grounded and rooted in union, which is what yoga is, union of self to the divine. Jivatma to Paramatma, this individual to the supreme. And there's a way of living, every minute, every moment, such that my actions arise from the awareness of union, and such that through my actions, I get closer and closer to that union. We're also told another path of love, bhakti, devotion, path of gyan, wisdom. There isn't time right here to go into the depths of all of those, but I mention it for a particular reason, because Eden has lovingly pushed us into the love in action, which most of us know as bhakti yoga. But when you read the Bhagavad Gita deeply, what you know is they're not three separate paths. They're three overlapping, interlocking ways of living. When we love, we act in love. When we are anchored in wisdom and truth, love flows because it is the most natural outcome of that awareness, of that truth. And action falls. I love Shiva. If she were, God forbid, not well or needed something, and I brought her a glass of water or a hot meal or some soup or, sat with her and stroked her head, you would never say, oh, well, that was karma yoga. That was love. You'd never say that was action. My spiritual path of action. As Tommy said, I'm going to now do action. It's just the most natural outflowing of my love. It's an outflowing of gyan, of wisdom that says, hey, we're not actually separate, we're one. And it's an outflowing of that love, not just for her individually in this beautiful body and this beautiful role she's playing here in her particular karmic drama on planet Earth, but love for her as divine, as soul, as consciousness, as source, as all of us. And then lastly, into this actual love in action every minute. So raise your hand if you are feeling any degree of heartbreak, distress, anger, grief, despair about what's going on in the world today. All right, so that's pretty much a consensus. And I mention it because that which you feel is great. You are not here to stop feeling that. Yoga is not the way out. It's the way in. It is not that which should be used to stop feeling anger, despair, heartbreak, outrage at the violence, the harm, the exploitation, the destruction, the injustice that is taking place in our world today. However, action rooted in anger, in fear, in separation, in objectification is useless action. It's neither effective nor efficient. It doesn't bring about change. And all it does is make us feel like we've had a big catharsis, but we haven't actually been the instrument, the vehicle of any kind of change in the world. So allow that feeling, that emotion that you raised your hands about, let that be the knock on you inside that says something is awry, there is a problem here. And then your yoga, your meditation, your chanting, your introspection, your spiritual path, your prayer, use that to transmute the anger into love. And I do not mean that in a wishy-washy sort of way. I do not mean that in a spiritual bypass, like, oh, let's just love everybody and all of these people who are bringing harm to the world, let's love them all. But I mean, when you act, we need to act from love. And if you look throughout history, Eden mentioned that I was in LA on Martin Luther King Day, and I realized on that day, I was like, if you look at those who brought about the greatest change in history, Martin Luther King, Gandhi, Nelson Mandela, so many. But what you see across the board, they were spiritual beings. They were beings who were angry, but who didn't act from the rage and outrage. They acted from love. They had a personal practice that enabled them to give their anger to God, to the soil, to the water, back to the universe, and allow them to rise and act in love. And so that's what we are called upon to do today. And when you feel that anger and despair, let it just be a reminder. I'm here as a vehicle, as an instrument, as a channel to bring love in the world. Find someone, something you love, and let your love for them be the catalyst through which that action flows. Thank you.
Thank you, Sadhviji Mataji. I think that those whispers to the heart will be remembered. Speaking about personal practice, Shivaji, for the last 2 decades, you've been an inspiration to all of us in the yoga community. To me, your life exemplifies what living your dharma can look like when it's at its highest level, especially as a female yoga teacher of Shakti and Bhakti practices. Please share with us about the word dharma and how you understand it and define it, but more so how you embody it in action as a female yoga teacher, and how others who are teachers might do that and what that might look like.
I'd love for us all to bring our hands to our heart center and give our gratitude for this amazing center of yogic wisdom in being and living yoga, and to radiate our gratitude to Pujya Swami, Sadhviji, and all of the Sevikas who have been behind the scenes, not just today, but like Anandji and Ishanji and Tommy and Eden. You are all serving this spark of life, this life intelligence. So I wonder if we can bring our hands in Gyan Mudra, and it forms like a bija, a bindu of our heart. And I feel so grateful for all of the teachers, particularly the reflection, the aham, the sacredness of our original bindu, how we came into the world as one cell, in Ayurveda, we'd say full of para ojas, full of this love essence, and of course Shiva Shakti Bhakti. And then if we bring that up, there's just this little diamond, and it seems that yoga changes our view. And we can't go in the world and just see the coverings anymore. We see that light in each other's eyes. So if we just look to the left and right, even great teachers, sadhus pass us, and also elders and people who are living so simply. And this is, I think, the most amazing aspect of Bhakti Yoga that has spread around the world, particularly where I've kind of settled in Kerala, and making this access to come to the north and places of Shiva Shakti Bhakti, like Kashi, where there are the cremation grounds that are so sacred and have this feeling that not only all of India, but all of the world, we start to see our sacred family. And so I want to just echo what has gone before us, particularly last night when Pujya Swami was coming with my drum teachers from Kerala. There were some of our family participants who are Persian from Iran. And I just want to acknowledge how all of us raised our hands, as Sadhviji was describing, that we feel this imbalance. And yet we see in Shiva Shakti Bhakti, like last night we were in the great chant of Aigiri Nandini, and how often in the iconography Ma is in a half lotus because she's always there for her children. We're never alone. And so it feels this journey towards our svabhava, our original nature. And as Tommy and Sadhvi were describing, it is a journey, I feel, that becomes interconnected in every moment to where we're being guided. And so this is, I find so interesting that dharma, like dharana, comes from the root to hold. You know, in this feeling that we all have a seed that is unique, will never be this expression of the one. This is your janma, this is your vinyasa from that bindu. And so it does take us to this feeling that, particularly now with, seems so strange, artificial intelligence. Congratulations, India, you're in the in the game, but please then guide us from ancient intelligence. It feels like, as we look around the world, and all of the yoga teachers and sadhakas are from every part of the world, how yoga has spread like trees that have interconnected roots. And it feels like wherever we go, this Shakti Bhakti of whatever expression is in front of us, this feeling of pranam or namaskar, that it's the dharma that we came into the world with. Children are full of this feeling of altruism. They can love anybody, anywhere, at any time. And yet, what is the journey? The neuroscience is on our side. What is the journey that we could possibly begin with so much love? Or in Kerala, it's so amazing because the value of sukham, of living an embodied happiness, is so palpable amidst the heat and the normal everyday agitations and what we're all rising for. Hey, I have a US passport. We've been protesting and protesting. I was born in an era of protesting in 1967. And so somehow we start to realize that activism can't only be an outward journey, but there's a sacred activism that has begun as we start to, in a way, worship this heart energy that's in every cell. Worship that fire in every cell. And that it becomes just like the beings that we see here, being in harmony with nature. And in a way, not needing anything external to become the tree that we're meant to be. That seed of love is so powerful that it feels like in the beginning, all of our actions may be done from so many conditionings. How many of you are activists that started to get a bit burnt out? Any burnt out activists in the house? As Mother Teresa, it's like you're putting just a drop into the ocean of suffering every day. You know, so for me as a young activist, I really was in a way saved by yoga sadhana to start to look at the imbalance. Only solar practice. I even began in a vinyasa system of which the imbalance of Shakti, of honoring and respecting Shakti, it was quite an imbalance. And I feel this is what Pujya Swami has really nurtured, is for us to see the great respect that has always been there for our living earth, for caring for Ma Ganga, the contradictions that we're all living with. You know, that attunement is what I feel Sadhvi has called us all to embody, is to feel in that spanda shakti, vibration inside you, what you care about, what has been the transformation of our own challenges and sufferings. Like a tree, that's where your dharma starts to grow, this feeling of svadharma. We can't be another kind of tree. This seed is already growing inside us. And so it feels like this process of humility in a way to get out of the way of this ancient intelligence. How many of you have experienced that through yoga? That you start to need less things, and this neuroscience of the power of purpose, the power of seeing how Great Spirit, how the consciousness in each one of us is asking us to let go of, particularly if we're on the yogic path, to really deal with how commercialism, how neocolonialism, how all of these temporary but very important things that we must deal with in our community, particularly full access to yoga. I come because this is a seva-based festival. And yet our dharma is going to help us, as if we're on a householder path, to find that balance of being able to care for your family and right livelihood, and find some ways to express this altruism that we were born with. Because that helplessness is just in our everyday actions transformed. Just committing to no plastic, or just committing to honoring water. I love a bucket bath. I love a bucket bath. We don't need much, just a bucket. And yet, we are circulating, we're supporting each other. And so if we can just come back to our heart for a moment and visualize that by the banks of the Ganga, we are under this great tree of wisdom. And it's asking us both inwardly to follow that power of yoga, karmasu, kausalam. Yoga is wisdom in action, love in action. For me, it's as simple as respecting every being that we experience every day, all day. And that leads us to ahimsa, that leads us to changes in our everyday life. And your dharma is unique. If we turn to that, this ancient intelligence starts to guide us. The changes we need to make in terms of our being, and the changes we want to be part of the world, as is so held here, of a green future. Anybody want to live with a robot? No, we don't want robots raising children. We are in a reverse process, actually. Let us discover the depths of ancient intelligence. Let us worship the life force inside us and everywhere, and let's join the great wisdom beings that are everywhere. Find the indigenous people. I love that Pujya Swami supports this, where you live. It's the question, what came before me? How can I get in alignment with all of the wisdom that is already understood about sustainability, about conflict resolution? This is all inside yoga. So thank you so much from our heart. And I'm going to pass the baton back to Eden. Thank you so much. Sarva Mangalam.
Thank you, Shivaji, for unraveling that seed so beautifully and eloquently. We all appreciate it. Ishan Tigunait ji. I've always loved the Himalayan Institute's approach to yoga as a lifestyle practice. It's just so majestically beautiful in how you guys share yoga as a practice. What's more, the Himalayan Institute has a devoted community. And I'd love for you to please speak about the concept of spiritual community and how they can support us in taking right actions and evolving ourselves beyond a yoga mat. And in addition, because the Himalayan Institute has so many humanitarian projects, how from both an organizational level and an individual level can people get started on being better humans by helping other humans?
Questions. Good morning, everyone. It's a great pleasure to be with you all. And so much love and gratitude to be invited into your home, to be greeted with so much love from this tradition, so capably guided by Sadhvi Ji, Pujya Swami Ji, it feels like home. And that itself is the prasad that we're getting even before perhaps we did the practice. This theme of living karma yoga, a sacred life, is a beautiful one that's very dear to my heart. As Sadhvi Ji was out, perhaps there's some great opportunity for us to revisit our own understanding of not just the idea or word karma, but the reality of karma. So often it feels like we're playing a cosmic game of hide and seek with karma. I'm not sure if we're the one hiding or seeking, perhaps a little bit of both. Karma is not something that we're perhaps hiding or seeking from or seeking, but rather an ever-present reality. The word karma yoga is comprised of two words. We need to first understand the nature of karma and begin seeing that an extraordinary force filled with purpose has brought us here to this life, and that is the force of karma, not the bondage of karma. And if we choose to play hide and seek, do it like children do, which is joyfully, rather than out of fear, compulsion, overreach. As we begin to transform our own attitude towards our life, which is what the spirit of karma is, the building blocks of our life are the gift of karma, we begin seeing our life and our world in an entirely new way. But to do so, we need to see ourselves in a new way. This is the gift, the opportunity of yoga sadhana, and what's so precious and rare about tradition, about sangha, community, where we seek to work together to find this for ourselves. To me, the opportunity for karma yoga can only be born from whatever is revealed through our personal practice, yoga sadhana. We must see ourselves in a new way, cultivating self-awareness through the very practices that we know hold so much value for our personal empowerment, but also because they allow us to be in the presence of life in a new way. The more clarity and self-awareness we have, we begin to not only see our identities through these eyes, but also those identities transform. Our karma transforms as we see it through the eyes of the divine. This is a law of physics, that the object of perception is changed simply by the act of perception. But we need to be engaged in that act and do it with a great force of clarity, stability, and humility. Tapas swadhyaya ishwar pranidhana. When we do that, karma is no longer something that we're hiding from or that we're perpetually one step from finding as we seek. It's with us because it brought us here. This is the yoga, the union, where we become and we find ourselves fully embraced by life. As we do that, we grow. And to your question, Eden, about how this transforms into spiritual community, community without us finding our own inner anchor is simply a collection of individuals. And it doesn't yield lasting results. It doesn't have the strength and resilience to face the tests of time. For us to form sangha, we must go deep within. When we do that with love and respect, when we have a mutual understanding of our own inner being and the being that surrounds us, sangha is born. Not through our own effort, but as a gift. It happens as we see the divine in each other's eyes, as we see ourselves in each other's eyes. It happens very naturally and spontaneously. This is a gift of karma yoga. And that ripples outward to your second question about the nature of positive action in the world. So many of us associate karma yoga as service. And of course, there's a tremendous element of this. That's the spirit is born out of this clarity, is born out of this clarity. Karma yoga gives birth to dharma in a very palpable, human way, very personal, and yet clearly one that holds the potential for true wholeness, true integration of humanity. That's the birth of many of our own personal efforts, our collective organizational efforts, and we all aspire that humanity together also undertakes certain efforts which are far bigger than any one individual or organization. And it all begins from discovering something deep within. The key to Karma Yoga as the basis of Sangha, Dharma, and impact is finding our own inner self, lovingly, with precision and dedication. And when that happens, anything is possible. Anything is possible.
Thank you, Ishanji. I can feel how much love and respect you have for yoga, and thank you for helping us all see yoga in a new way. Anandji, it's a pleasure to be here with you. The Sattva Yoga Academy is one of the leading yoga teacher training schools in India, and I've heard so many wonderful things about the ashram as well. That said, you also host the Sattva Summit, and you have two nonprofits that you run, the Kushu Foundation and Sattva Foundation, that do amazing acts of karma yoga in the world. Can you please share with us about why karma yoga is an essential part of programming for yoga teacher training and as a yoga teacher's education, as part of their education? But more importantly, what motivates people and yourself to personally take action?
Thank you, Eden. Namaskar, everybody. Such a joy to be here. Thank you, Sadhviji and beloved Swamiji, for always welcoming us home. Yes? Are you happy or not? Too tired? The thing with karma is we cannot escape karma. That's the default state. We are born into time, and time is an activity. So inaction is not a possibility. Karma is given. We must act. Now that's the big dilemma that Arjuna poses to Krishna in the first chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, which is the yoga of despondency of Arjuna, the first chapter. And Arjuna says, I'm done. I don't want to act. I just want to go to the cave, Krishna. You deal with it. I mean, these people are out of their minds. I want to go and chill by Lakshman Jhula. At that time, you could really chill in Lakshman Jhula. It's a few thousand years ago. And so, but Krishna says to Arjuna, you cannot escape action, Arjuna. No matter where you go, action is a must. The quality of action changes, but the action cannot be done away with. So what is the solution? And one of the most beloved sutras or shlokas that Krishna says to Arjuna is Yogaste Kuru Karmani, Arjuna. Establish yourself in yoga and then act. For you cannot not act. The action arises from a consciousness state of the actor. The actor experiences the response or the reaction that his action generates within his or her own consciousness, and generates a corresponding memory based on the experience he or she has. All of this is karma. The actor, the action, the experience, and the corresponding memory that the experience generates. All of these are happening within the consciousness state and through the consciousness state of the actor, in this case being Arjuna. So Arjuna cannot escape action, no matter where he goes. Even if he sits in the cave or sits by the Ganga, he is still active. Even when he is externally not doing anything, he is doing something. Yes or no? And we find that the human condition is such that whatever we do, we end up creating monsters. We create Frankenstein. We are disturbed. We are enslaved by our own activity. At the internal level, it is the activity of our own minds. And then on the external level, the actions that arise from us. We seem to be the only species which seem to be committed to designing our own suffering and of our fellow species. So the solution is very clear, that action has to be refined, and the action can only be refined when the actor is refined. And that is the declaration, Yogaste Kuru Karmani. First act internally. You must change the actor's state. Only when the actor's state changes can there be any hope of the external reality changing. There is no other way. You can have the most beautiful planet. I don't think it gets any better than this one. We haven't found any planet which is better than this one, have we? We're still looking. So you can be in the most magical planet and put heaven elsewhere. Not here. Deny the heavenly nature of this magnificent place and deny that this is where it's at. Purely because our consciousness state is so dense. And that's why our ancestors, the ancestors of this land, our rishis, our masters, were very clear that the most important action that a human being can take in this life is the spiritual action. And that is the greatest gift of this incredible civilization, which is Bharat, to the whole world, is the spiritual teachings. Not just a belief system, not something to think about, but rather a living tradition which can transform the very way we see, live, and experience and act in this world. And if we can really begin to come together and take that action internally, then we can, whatever we do in life becomes part of karma yoga, or as Tommy said, kriya, or as Sadhvi ji says, yoga of love, love in action. Because to love is an incredible invitation, but we find we fail at it, don't we? We do atrocious things to people we say we love. Are you aware of this? So, why is love so difficult for us? It's because that the experience of love is lacking. And that requires a very clear inward approach, a very consistent inward approach and inward orientation, a whole system of it, a whole commitment to it, to really transform that inner state where love starts to bubble up within our own experience. When we can experience being loved, then to act in love becomes a natural state. We can share that love when we go out into the world. And so, coming from this incredible living tradition, that is our commitment, that is the commitment of all our masters who have come before us and who will continue to come after us, to really help elevate human beings, to really have first that inward orientation and realize that the primary action has to be internal, not a belief system, but an action, which can transform the actor. So then when the actor goes out into the world, his or her natural state is of kriya, evolutionary presence. And then we are able to live dharma, fulfill elegantly the highest need of the hour, spontaneously. Spontaneous right action. We don't have to think about it and have a lot of discussions and meet in different places on the planet, just keep talking and know nothing. Yes or no? Every year, climate change meetings, every year. No action. So spontaneous right action does not require a lot of discussion. It is our innate intelligence to act in that manner. And the yogic system is the most ancient and consistently successful system to deliver the highest result, to free us from our own tendency to self-destruct, individually and collectively. And events like this are truly an incredible gift to humanity. For what all we do here, all of you from all over the planet, really generates such an incredible influence in the field, which truly is karma yoga. Transformative action. We are all part of that movement, and we are so grateful. I'm so grateful individually, and I'm sure everybody here is so grateful for our home Parmarth to allow us and to bring us here together to be able to take conscious evolutionary action and be part of the positive change that we need to see in the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Anandji. We're not quite by Lakshmanjula, but we're all chilling out by Ramjula today. And as we shift now the conversation to welcome some questions from all of you, as we shift there, before we go there, what I'd love for you to do is just bring your hands to your heart in prayer and turn to someone on the left or right or both sides of you and project love to them, right? Share love from your heart, just the way you bow, the way you make contact with your eyes, the way you smile at them. These are all acts of karma yoga. And just let someone feel your love, your heart today. All right, with that, we'd love to welcome some questions from all of you and what you're seeking to know from our illustrious panel today. So please raise your hand and we'll bring a microphone over, right over there, first one. Do we have a microphone? Yeah, right there.
Introduce with your name.
Thank you. Namaste, everyone. Thank you for a lovely panel. My name is Timela. I'm coming from the UK. I have one quick question for Sadhvi ji. Just very quick question. And one for lovely Shiva Rea ji as well. Sadhvi, you mentioned to make sure that whatever we do it from a place of love and compassion. Totally agree with that. If you can give us a little tip on how to transmute, on how to shift strong emotions such anger and grief, so we can really operate from that place of love and compassion. And the other question is, sorry, I'm out of breath. Okay, and the other question is for Shiva Rea. So you mentioned about AI, and this is, I do agree with you, worshipping more about our ancient wisdom and celebrating that. But also I find myself in a battle, in a conflict, because as a spiritual being, I want to worship the wisdom of our ancestors, but I would like to know how to integrate the technology, because if we think about our ancestors, back in the days, imagine if they were against all the technology that was pushing forward, like the Industrial Revolution, the cameras, we're surrounded by them now, and our ancestors used to believe that they were machines stealing the soul from people. And so how we can really not look at as the enemy or evil, but how we can integrate technology that is moving really fast, especially in the Aquarian age, is all about technology. And it might feel sometimes like we are going backwards, but sometimes I feel, well, this is part of the evolution as well, same like Industrial Revolution and technology and telephones and all that. Thank you so much for the answers. Thank you.
Great questions. So with regard to the transmuting of anger, rage, outrage, despair into love, as I said before and really want to emphasize, we're not talking wishy-washy spiritual bypass. It's not like that. Yes, eventually, ideally, in a highest spiritual experience, evolution, expression, every one of us will get to the point where we can actually feel love for every being on this planet, past and present, regardless of how they act. Most of us are not quite there yet. And that's okay. And we don't have to pretend we are. Here's what that transmuting of it looks like for me. So Eden mentioned I was recently back in the United States in January, and although I've had the beautiful blessing of living here on these banks of Ganga for almost 30 years, I originally am from the US, from Los Angeles, and have been very carefully following the awful, awful, awful actions of what is happening through ICE for our immigrant sisters and brothers in the US. And as we feel, and this is just one example, there's dozens of examples that are taking place around the world today. As we see this happening, as we watch our sisters and brothers be dragged out of homes, places of work, dorm rooms, off the street, separated from their children, from their families, from the land they've lived in and have been contributing members to for decades. Naturally, we're furious. We're heartbroken. The activism that Shiva spoke about is very important. It's important to let the world know that our spiritual path gives us just as strong a no as it gives us a yes. A lot of people are under the mistaken belief that spirituality is just about yeses. Sometimes it's about a very strong no. And yet, when we act from that place of outrage, we have objectified the other. We have made them an obstacle to the fulfillment of the right world that I think should be there. It objectifies them, it therefore objectifies me. I am the one who has to somehow figure out how to remove this obstacle from the path. And the problem is that what we know about change is it doesn't come from objectification. It doesn't come from separation. It doesn't come from me going on the offensive and putting others on the defensive. It comes from a much deeper place of consciousness. And so the way that that work would look like in that example is not that I'm somehow overnight, because we got to act soon. It's not a matter of overnight I have reached a spiritual level where I hold and embrace every ICE agent and everyone who's telling them what to do in my total love. Doesn't have to be that immediately. Hold that as the goal, because that is a spiritual goal. But for right now, let my motivating factor shift from rage and outrage at them to love for our immigrant sisters and brothers. Let my actions be propelled by the love for them. Deforestation, environmental destruction rips my heart out. But to act out of anger at every developer who's cutting down trees to put in condos or factories is just a dissipation of my ojas, my prana, that life force, that energy that I need to actually fulfill my dharma. So instead, the rage is the reminder, pulls us out of distraction. Otherwise, we are so busy, we forget that there are things happening that we need to attend to. But then, the action is not, you awful contractor, you awful developer, you awful political leader who enables this to happen. But I love trees. And allow that love. The action becomes the same. But that which is propelling me is love rather than anger. And it's a much cleaner burning fuel. It lasts a lot longer. It doesn't burn me out at the same time. And it is a fuel and an energy that is in alignment with the forces of the universe. I spoke last night in the Arti about the aspects of the mother goddess, and one of them being Skandmata, who's holding baby Kartikeya in her arms and weapons in the other arm. And it's this yes and energy of love, of nourishing, of protection, of care, and of you stay away from my baby. And I've got the weapons to make sure you do. And this yes and energy in which we're rising in love. The no is what reminds us, but we rise in love so that the action is one that's not just about stopping one agent or one person or one policy, but it becomes an action in which the ripple impact of it is actually of love and of togetherness. Because if I'm feeding people only out of rage that they're hungry, what I'm feeding them is the energy of anger. And we need to feed people the energy of love.
Thank you, Sadhvi ji. Vira Rasa is right next to Raudra Rasa in the Nava Rasa theory that just not too far in Srinagar, Abhinavagupta gave this incredible understanding of the embodied yogic path, that rasa is when the self is tasting the self. And the taste of stress is, for me, such a barometer when I find that the pitta is becoming high. And this is what I feel Sadhvi was giving us the darshan. I'm going to try and be succinct, very succinct. And this embodiment that has been our legacy, when we're speaking of indigenous wisdom, and I've been going to sacred sites such as Gigantia, which is the oldest mother temple that's still standing, almost 9,000 years. And the great legacy of these female leaders is 1,000 years of peace, in which in the archaeology there's not one sign of one blow to any being. And if we ask ourselves, what has AI given us? I see every day that the leaders of this are convincing us that we will be useless. The problem will be that we're useless. Everything, this intelligence is so much greater. But I, having studied disembodiment with a master's in movement therapy, so it's a very deep look at the history. And unfortunately, for the last several thousand years, these technological advances have not been good for our planet, not good for our families. And that's the question I feel each person on the planet, but particularly yoga practitioners, we have to really ask ourselves and get very, very clear about, because climate change has now almost been taken off the table. While one question we ask for AI, the energy use is exponential. That's not sustainable. And so I'm concerned that we're being brought into this false philosophy about how great artificial intelligence is. I'm not seeing any plans of using robots to clean up the earth. I'm not seeing this. I'm seeing the increase for war. And this is what, yogic bhakti has always been guarding, this sacred intelligence and guidance. And so I feel we're all going to be asked to come to a level of embodiment, sacred embodiment, and to taste the taste of technological use. Use it for something beneficial, but be very, very clear and discerning of how easily the fragmentation of our consciousness, of our rhythms. This has been going on. The Industrial Revolution was the most terrible beginning of a disembodiment. Our heart just became an engine, a pump. So we have to really not assume it's the greatest thing that's ever happened to us. We've been sold that again and again. And I feel the power of yoga is that we can taste just after one full pranayama. We feel this return. And this is our legacy. And I feel each one of us will be part of this evolving destiny. So we bow to this ancient intelligence and pray that this guides us in how to safeguard this, again, Sarva Mangalam, a green future for all beings.
And since there were two of them, and they're such inspiring and powerful women, give them a second round of applause for their answers, please. We have time for one more question, I think, for this session. Do we have any hands? Anyone who wants to ask a question to our panel? right over here. Thank you so much. We need a mic.
The deeper I go into the yogic path, the more I understand Ram Dass's very simple instruction to be here now. Enlightenment isn't out there, it's just about this moment. Yet, the thing that's keeping me personally from being here in each of the moments right now is grief. But I know I'm not alone, I know based on how many people raised their hands at the beginning of this section, there's intense feelings for a lot of us. So, and I know the spiritual path is deeply about suffering, right? So, in these deep moments of suffering, how do we come back to being here now?
Thank you for this question. I come from the United States of America. I was born there. I grew up there. I love so much about it. The more I go down the yogic path, the more I recognize the unimaginable weight of not taking responsibility for actions that have harmed people in the past, never mind the present. That's not an anti-United States comment. I see that in many, 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 many other countries across the world. Until our leaders find a way to own what has happened in the past, rather than say, well, I wasn't there, that was hundreds of years ago, and I don't see how this is relevant for us to address this now. Of course, we all know that means it's not helpful for me as a political candidate to address this now. It is no different for me than the addict who refuses to take responsibility for their actions and who remains in an addictive pattern and therefore hurting themselves and others around them. Now we're seeing, extraordinary examples of violence and pain and suffering coming out of this, ultimately. How can we possibly come present if we're utterly hooked into a past and into a karmic debt that has never been paid? How will we ever be able to reconcile if we don't take responsibility for what we've done? There is no presence if the past is constantly pulling you away from it. And when that happens, one starts to get very excited about a future that hasn't come yet, because whatever the perceived present is, it's so miserable that we can only look to the one place where something else might happen, and that's where we imagine the future could possibly bring something to us that could be a relief from this. Yoga asks us to come present. Yoga asks us to reconcile. Yoga asks us to repair, where appropriate, the things that we can. We're asked to turn our gaze inward and to break the unbelievable transfix, that addiction with the external world, that somehow something out here is going to happen that's going to save me, that's going to save us. And it never comes. We stay in the pattern. We stay uncomfortable, sick, and sad a little while longer. But we have unbelievable examples of success and victory in our world today. Unbelievable examples. But in our negative bias in the media, we're not always shown those examples. And you could go on social media for 5 minutes and be pretty clear that tomorrow the world will end. How strong the negative bias is today. So we have to first of all break out of that and get around people who actually have a solution, who actually know how to establish themselves in present and begin to break that unbelievable pain and hook that's in us from the past. Each of us individually must do this work. Again, I've benefited so much from Anandji's teachings, and he really spoke to us about our own violence and how it has to be worked out. Because again, I I can objectify anybody else in any other situation. I can look at my president, your president. I could look at any of the leaders, anyone who's doing harm in the world right now, and I could say, that's not me. But in doing that, I've lost my own opportunity to become fully present in myself. And if I don't do it, and if you don't do it, if we especially don't do this work, I can assure you, they're not going to do it either. So it truly, truly has to come from within us. We each must work out our own violence. And if you don't think you're a violent person, pay very close attention to your judgment. Pay very close attention to your condemnation, to your gossip, and pay very close attention to how you treat yourself in your own head when nobody else is looking. Any stuckness in a self-harming act, which we call addiction, that's a violent act. Now, if each of us can actually do the work of healing this, we actually stand the chance of becoming a fully present being. And as a fully present being, there's nothing more powerful that we could offer to the world than that consciousness state. That consciousness state is like medicine. I really truly believe that light always wins. I do. I believe we're going to work it out. I do. I believe it. I may not know exactly how that works in the movie that's playing in my head. What I know is every one of us is going to have to pitch in to do the individual work we must do so that everybody else can heal. And since Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. has come up a few times today, my absolute favorite quote of his, he wrote from Birmingham prison. He'd been arrested for God knows how many times at that point. But from Birmingham prison, he wrote, "For some reason, I cannot be all that I can be unless you are all that you can be. And you can't be all you can be unless I'm all that I can be." This is the interrelated nature of the structure of reality. It's a purely yogic statement, an unbelievable yogic statement. And so our yoga, this opportunity that we have, which everyone is speaking to, and the unbelievable effort of Pujya Swamiji, Pujya Sadhvi Ji, 10 years ago, I don't know, Ki and I came the first time, and Pujya Swamiji looked at us and he said, this is your festival. This is your festival. And I know that he meant that. I would extend his statement to me, to all of you. This is your festival. We have an incredible opportunity this week. As again, Anandji says sometimes, go somewhere you've never been before. In our classes, in our work together, in our love. Let's go somewhere we've never been before. Let's create a resonance so epically powerful that it carries all of us in consciousness throughout the year and beyond, and that we are able to affect all those we come in contact with, so that we all might break these ties to the past, own our violence, work through it, process through it, become present, and live free on this earth. Thank you.
Thank you, Tommy G, for literally a mic drop moment. As we begin to conclude the session today, I'd ask everybody to place their hands at their heart. And every night we sit on the Ghat steps by Gangama, and we do the Hanuman Chalisa. And the last verse of the Hanuman Chalisa says, Ki Jai Nata Hidaya Mahandir. Ki Jai Nata Hidaya Mahandir. And it means, Lord, make a home in my heart. So as you come to your heart right now and you establish a place of home, both here in Parmarth Niketan and at IYF, your Himalayan home, but here inside yourself, at the home of your heart, I'd ask each of you to visualize, to bhavana, one action you can take when you get home, motivated by love, by all these great aspirations that we've talked about here today. One way that you can take action in your life to help others, to make the world a better place, to help yourself evolve, one way, I'm going to quiet down and just give you a couple of breaths to really let the vision come to life. Get as detailed as you can right now. How are you going to apply karma as action? Thank you to all of you for being here, both at our session and at the International Yoga Festival. Thank you to Anandji and everybody else on the panel. It's been a pleasure and an honor, and thank you so much. Namaste.
Namaste. We have a session that will be here starting at 12:30? In 5 minutes, I believe. It's a rhythmic vinyasa. It's with my wonderful teachers who will be joining us at the end. We are going to be moving the chairs, and if you're staying, which I encourage you, it will be solar lunar and rhythmic kriya and bass. And we will begin in 100 moments, which means 5 minutes. Let's once again put our hands together for these amazing teachers, beings. Thank you so much. Jai Gange.